Shan and Tam fam, welcome to the Real Talk podcast. On this podcast, we talk about real issues. We talk about parenting, love, family, friendships, and everything in between.
It is our hope that you will journey with us through some critical conversations. We would like for you to drop us a comment, to share the conversation, and to let us know what you would like to see us talk about on Real Talk.
Hello, Shan and Tam fam. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Shan and Tam. Today we have a very special guest. From the South, we have Roel Patterson, who's actually checking in with us from California. So we are very lucky, very privileged to have Roel with us today. And Roel is a social marketer and online business coach. And he helps working dads find more purpose and fulfillment by increasing their quality time and connection with their kids without losing out financially. He's an all-rounder, he's an entrepreneur, and even though he says dads, he does work with everyone. He works with women as well. But today, we actually want to talk to Roel from the dad perspective. You often hear us, Shan and I, talk about our perspectives, the challenges that we have as women, mothers, working 9 to 5, juggling the family, the husband, the kids. And so we're lucky to have Roel today to just give us another perspective and to talk to us about some of the tips that he can offer, some of the challenges that he has found that, men face, and some of the tips that he can offer in terms of breaking that barrier and finding that balance. So welcome, Roel. So happy to have you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Tam, Shan. I've been looking towards this for some time, so I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And Roel is a yardie too, so we can't miss that one out.
Exactly.
He's a fellow yardie, yard man.
And we probably should have warned Roel that sometimes we do break out into the patois because when we get into the real talk, we have to go back to our real roots, right?
That's right. I'm all game. I'm all for it.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. So, Roel, let's get the conversation started. So, tell us first a little bit about, what you do, and then let's talk about, what you've found, maybe from your own experience or from even working with clients, some of the things, the challenges that you've found men have in terms of finding that balance with the work life, being an entrepreneur, and family, and especially around the kids.
Okay, well, that's a very, very good question. And I think it's a very meaningful one as well, because one of the things that from a man's perspective, what we believe that, because we are by society standard, we are the hunters, we're the one that goes out and make the money, and we're the ones that have to do things. What happened is that a lot of times we find it very difficult to hunt and to feed at the same time. Does that make sense? It's like to hunt and give enough time to the family at the same time, or to hunt and be a great dad. So a lot of men are in this bubble where they're living the or life, I call it, the or life. So it's like, you want to be a successful man or a successful dad or a successful husband, but I cannot be a successful this, right? So I can be successful financially, but please do not expect me to be the husband that is always going to be there. Right? Or I'm going to be a successful man, but I cannot be the successful dad. You have to, as the woman or as the wife, you have to fill that gap. And the reality is that while that has some truth to it, it all goes back to the lack of understanding how to really distribute your time and your focus. If we become better at distributing our time and our focus, then we will find that we can be an all-round person, right? Hence what I say in my in the intro, where I help dads to be the busy dad, be the man that goes out and make a lot of money, be the man that wows his wife, and still be the man that become a great dad without losing out financially. Because a lot of times men think that, oh, if I'm going to be your sugar boo, right, or your amazing husband,
I can't get everything.
If I'm going to be that for you, then we're going to struggle financially, and it's not true, right? It's not true. You have to learn how to really put that in perspective. And I know as we go through the conversation today, we'll share some tips on that.
Right.
I'm glad you clarified that, because when you talk, my heart, I feel my chest, cause I'm like, but that doesn't sound right, because we as women, we're expected to carry and to do all. Right. So what is the difference with men? And it's interesting, when you spoke, I remembered a conversation I heard Steve Harvey having in one of his discussions, and he was saying that you can't expect a man to fully commit to you 100% until he has achieved certain things personally, because in his mind, he feels like he cannot provide. He feels like he cannot take care of his family. So don't expect for him to fully commit to you in that way, because he's not able to provide. And when you spoke, it kind of made me think on that, when you talk about men being the hunters and them focusing on one thing, and when they're not, it's not like they can't, for some men, they can't do everything all at once. It becomes overwhelming for them. So do you find that seen with some of the men that you coach, or some of the men that you speak with?
Yeah, for sure. And we can't deny that there is a breakdown in the family structure, right? And because of this breakdown, and I'm not making anybody at fault, it's just what it is, right? And sometimes it's just overwhelming, because we need money and we need to survive, and we need to work, and we need to make sure that our retirement is in check and in order, and all of these things. But the reality is that we have not become very clear on what that big picture is. Because if we're clear on what that picture is, we will realize that we can still accomplish everything, but we do it systematically rather than doing it on impulse. And that's what is happening in most cases. We're more impulsive. So oh my God, I need to do this, because if I don't do this, it's going to fall apart. And then I need to do that. And I need to be at my kids' basketball thing. So everything is impulsive, rather than if we do things systematically, then we realize that there's just one steady flow. What do I mean by that? So if we understand that, okay, the man goes out and he's going to work, but a part of that work, just based, and I'm going back to what you said, Shan, about Steve Harvey. Of course, most men, and I'm talking about solid men when I talk about men, solid men don't want to get committed until they have certain things in place. However, they will if they can trust their partner.
And that's what I was just going to say. What about those men that don't really have much, but they'll start from scratch with a progressive woman that has a vision and can build with them? Because oftentimes, as you know, Roel, sometimes everybody in the same boat. Everybody had tried to achieve and stuff like that. And sometimes you just have to meet people where they're at. What if you have a progressive partner, you guys have the same vision, are aligned in the same way, and you can build each other up, as opposed to say, make me wait until me get the masters, or wait until I open the business before I can commit to you. Why not work together to achieve that?
It goes back to a lack of trust, and trust affects the ego in a massive way. Right? And I have said this a lot of times, even to the guys that I coach, and one of the things that I talk about is that when you can trust your partner, meaning we are, as men, we have this big ego, right? Because we want to be your king. We
Right.
want to be the leader. We want to be, not to put women in any form of second place or to lord over them, but we want to be this authoritative figure in your eyes. We want, whenever you look up on us, you feel weak, not weak in sense of, as inferior, but weak as in, oh my God, this man has me all tied up in his love or stuff, right? That's what we
Yes.
want.
You
So
always say you feel secure, you're
you
weak,
feel
your
so
knees
secure.
weak. You said, no,
Exactly.
Sada man, you have
You're
me,
weak
him
in the
have
knees,
me, him
right?
have me.
So that's what that's what we really want. We
Real
feed
talk.
on that. Why do men get fast cars? Not because they love fast cars, but because it impresses women. Why do we get big houses? Not because we're not cleaning the houses. So obviously we love big houses, right?
Touch a con, you touch a con,
I
Roel.
know.
Yes.
But we know that these things, it matters to our partners, right? So
Right,
what do
right.
I mean when I talk about trust? A lot of times what happens with our big ego, we believe that if we do not do these things, and you might love us, but we don't get that edge. We don't feel that edge as if, oh my God, he is my everything. He has me weak. We don't
Mm,
feel that. But
mm-hmm.
if we have a partner that makes us feel that, even when we're not doing that, right? That now will get a man who is not there yet to take action and commit, right? Because that's what a man always wants. A partner that really builds him up. Hey, he goes out and he tries to hunt and he misses, he fails. And the woman say, hey baby, no problem. Listen, if there's one person that can do it, it's you.
Right.
Tomorrow you're gonna get it done. I know for sure.
Mm-hmm,
Rather
mm-hmm.
than really, you don't, how do you mess that up? If you
Yeah.
say that to a man, you're killing him, right? So,
Right.
so, so
Real talk.
Real talk.
if you look at it based on what I'm saying, it is a complete set. It's a complete system, right? So the woman has to know how to read her man and say, what feeds this man's ego? And I'm not saying feeding his ego in a negative way. I'm saying what gives him this edge. Hence, that's the reason my platform is called the Winner's Edge. What it is that gives this man this edge, and how can I do it? It may be sex and affection. It may be just telling him that he is the one, that he can do it. And the more powerful he feels, the more powerful he becomes. Because a man becomes what he feels,
Mm-hmm,
Mm.
mm-hmm.
right?
That's
Okay.
powerful.
And
Okay.
if you empowers him, he will empower you, because now he will become all that he can be, and then get to give you all that you desire.
Mm.
So let's jump into the story with the kids now,
Mhm.
because, all right, so we're at the point now, you are together, maybe the ego is being fed, things are on a roll, and then the kids come into the picture, and that changes the dynamic in any relationship. You know, I I don't think people are ever really prepared to be parents, because it's
Mhm.
only after we've become parents we realize, hey, there is no manual for these little bit human beings, right? So you're just,
Especially us.
yeah, especially the men. You
Real
quickly
talk.
realize that. So now, again, like Shan said, so we're the mothers, we're the nurturers, we're the caring ones. And not to say that there aren't men who are in that situation and there aren't women who sort of stand off too, like, step back and the man be naturally able to do that more. But for the majority of the situations, I would think that, or we see the women doing it all. So now we're
Mhm.
taking care of the kids and we are working as well. And we might want to try to find some things to balance us out and to fulfill our own selves. And so how does the man now get into the mix of all that. I understand he's the hunter. I understand he wants to focus on this one thing, but now the kids are there. So how do you coach these gentlemen into getting into it, getting into the mix, building those relationships with the kids? Because the kids need the men. They need them as much as they need us.
Yeah,
right?
real talk.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. So here's how I tell people all the time. And it's a very, very simple formula. I don't know where I picked it up or if I came up with it myself, but I'm claiming ownership of it, right?
Okay.
The formula is, when you're in a relationship, first of all, the foundation of it is that when you're in a relationship, there can be no selfishness. It's not about you, right? And because, as again, the big ego sometimes put us in that selfish mode as men, right? Because it has to be fed, right? It's uncontrolled ego that is dangerous, but ego is a good thing because you need it. It's every man that is successful based on his ego.
That's interesting. And
Right?
it's true. I think that's true too.
It's true.
Anybody, I think, because women have egos just
Egos
as,
too.
yeah.
Everybody have ego.
So that's it, right? So here's the formula that I always tell people. When you're in a relationship, your only goal is to be everything that you can be for that person.
Wow.
That person, right?
Wow.
So so if I want a wife or a woman that is affectionate, right? I cannot really think that becomes second place, even though that is my greatest desire. What is that woman wants? If that woman wants to feel secured, no, my life, my commitment, my marriage, my entire lifespan is committed to give her security and to make her feel secured every day. Hoping that from her perspective, she sees that her only job is to be there for me as well. So if you have that trade-off, like my job is to be there for you, Shan, and your job is to be there for me, then what I will do, every morning when I wake up and every action that I take is geared towards fulfilling you. And every action that you take is geared towards fulfilling me. Now, let me bring it full circle. It means therefore, as men, we also have to realize that we have to sometimes take the kids off the wives' hands.
Absolutely.
We have to realize that, and I'm not better than any guy, but I do this. I get to do this, as a matter of fact. If you notice, I'm home right now.
Right.
And my wife works. My wife is a registered nurse.
Yes.
And for the past 8 years, I've been working from home full time because of the nature of my business, right?
Right.
So majority of my time is spent with my daughter. My wife, in my household, my wife have the lifestyle that most other men have, right? So she's the one that goes out.
She's outside.
Because she's forced to go out, but that's what her job requires. My job requires me to work from home.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in this situation, the roles are a bit turned. So now I have to make sure that when my wife is off for the 2 days, she works 5 days. When she's off for 2 days, what do I do? Remember, she has not been home for 5 days. So those 2 days should be my 2 days, right? We get to connect and spend time and enjoy ourselves.
Right.
But I still take the baby out and take her to the park just so that my wife has the house for herself for a few hours, just to get her thoughts together, just to get her body back together, just to get her mind settled in for the next days when she's going back to work, right? I don't take that time to go out and hang out with the boys. I hang out with the guys when I have my daughter with me every day for 5 days. So my daughter and I hang out with the guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that my wife gets the time that she needs
to rest.
And just because as a nurse, it's a very toxic environment. right? It's very, very high pressure, 12 hours, 16 hours sometimes,
Right.
right? So I have to do this. I have to take my daughter out to the park. I have to try to make sure that if my wife is sleeping, I try to do things to entertain my daughter and still get to give her time in whenever she needs that time as well, right?
And that's
So
truly being
it's a
selfless,
circle.
right?
Yeah.
Because you
You have to
said that
define.
earlier. That's
Yeah,
truly being selfless.
you have to.
Because you're thinking from the perspective of providing her with security,
Yeah,
providing her with affection,
yeah,
right? Providing her with care. So you are thinking about her as what you
yeah.
said at the beginning of the conversation. I think that is truly a selfless act.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right? And more people definitely have to turn their perspective on how they view marriage like that. It's not just our relationships, it's not just about you, it's about the other person,
yeah,
Yeah.
right? So, like, more power to you for doing that because not a lot of people look at things in that context. Because you could say, she's gone for 5 days, the 2 days, it's my time
yeah.
to do stuff with the boys and to do whatever. But you said you still make space to support her even during the times when she's at home. So I
Yeah.
definitely commend you on that.
Yeah.
And funny enough, thank you. And funny enough, a lot of the things that I want to do with her, I have to be with her. Right? But a lot of the stuff that I would want to do with my wife, I would have to be with her, but I still take time away from her. I would love to
Yes.
get physical with her, but I'm out at the park because I have to not sometimes you have to always be willing to sacrifice your needs or desires for the other person. And that's why marriage is such a unique form of relationship because it's no longer about you, right? I think one of the challenge that we have as men is that, and you guys have to share from the female's perspective, but as men, I think we have the challenge of wanting to have a perfect situation in an imperfect setting. So it's like, okay, your spouse came home, she's tired after 5 days, 6 days of work, but you would want that, okay, she worked that money, she comes home, she give you all the time, and she still cooks dinner and she still cleans the house. And to you, that would be perfect. But that's a perfect thing in an imperfect situation, right?
Yeah.
So you
And
have
that's
to
not always
be perfect.
realistic.
Yeah,
That's
it's
No.
not
not
always
realistic.
realistic.
And I
It's
think
not
it's
realistic.
true. I think it's true for women just the same too. I think
Yeah,
sometimes we are looking for perfection in the midst of the imperfection
yeah,
because it really takes
Mm-hmm.
a lot of effort to be selfless because we're so caught up sometimes to thinking about all that we have to do, not thinking about what is it that the other person wants or needs. Now, I wouldn't even
yeah.
say wants or needs, right?
Mhm.
So I think it goes both ways. Um, but one of the things that came to me as you were speaking, like I can't speak about my own situation. So for many years, there was always sort of a tension, like between me and my husband when it came to work, because we both work, right? And so the nature of his job is a little bit more unpredictable on a daily basis than mine is. And
Mhm.
it took me a really long time for me to understand that, listen, the fact that his job is this unpredictable, it means that in the instances where I feel I might want him or need him to jump in, he might not be able to. Because at 4 o'clock, he might be planning to leave at 4 when
Mhm.
something pops off at 4 and
Mhm.
then I don't, he can't leave until 6.
Yeah,
And it took me a really long time to appreciate and understand that this is something like he has no control over.
yeah,
And so now I just got to roll with the punches and I just have to pick up and do instead of stressing him out about the fact that, well, you weren't here when,
mm,
you know what I mean?
mm.
So it brought that to mind as you were talking.
Yeah.
And so I think it goes both ways that sometimes we really need to be, even as women, where we're feeling that we are in the midst, we're doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have to step back and sort of
Mm-hmm.
be selfless too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes both ways, right? It definitely goes both ways.
Yeah, I can see that. And one of the thing again is that with what I have found personally is that most times, as I said before, if we understand the trade-off that what my role is, what is my role? My role is not just to be a husband. My role is to be what all that I can be for you. And then when kids come in, my role is to be all that I can be for you guys, right? And that's and once you understand that, then that trade-off happen because guess what? You're gonna be tired one night when you come in from work, but you're gonna say, hey, you know what? But I haven't spent any time with my husband for the past 5 days. As tired as I am, tonight I have to give him 10 minutes just to relax with him and talk about some simple stuff.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Yeah, so again, when we talk about being everything for the other person, it is an incremental thing. It's not,
Absolutely.
hey, I'm coming in to fulfill all your desires right now. It's
Right.
incremental, right? So it is okay, what it is that as a woman you desire,
Mm.
and how can I be that? It may be as simple as I want a man that can just listen to me when I am venting
Yeah. And not solve the problem.
and not solve the problem.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, as I become that,
Hmm.
and then I become that over time, I'm going to also realize that you like nice things like getting just random cards tucked in your bag that when you're at work you open your bag and you see this beautiful note, and
Hmm.
then I start doing that. So it's incremental. It's not
Right.
becoming Superman or and that's the reason like relationships, marriages, even if you're not in a marriage but you're in a committed relationship, it's intended to be long term.
Right.
So long
Mm-hmm.
term it doesn't mean that you're going to have a perfect person for the long term. It means
Th-
that at the end of your term,
yeah.
the person should be a completely different person from
That
when you
is
It's at the end of the
so
term, the
profound.
end of the term.
No,
Me I
but
forgot listen to that part there again.
real talk, because I don't think I've never ever thought of it that way.
yeah.
I don't know who does, because we really go into the relationships thinking that it's supposed to be right from the very beginning.
No.
But you are absolutely
It's a journey.
perfectly right. It is
Mm-hmm.
a journey.
The only reason you come together is to grow together.
Yeah.
So if
Mm-hmm.
you had already reached that growth, why did you need to marry?
Why did you need anybody else?
You
That's
So
so
didn't need
true.
anybody,
yeah,
right?
we need a part two just for
Yeah, no, we need a
relationships
part
alone.
two. No,
But
real talk. But
one of
Roel, there's so many. Go ahead, Tam.
yeah, no, one of the final question I had for you was like, what are some actual practical tips that you
Mm-hmm.
like can pass on for our listeners, and in particular the men, in terms of balancing? What are some of the things that they do need to do or pay attention
Well,
to?
one of the thing that I would say, well, I'm going to share two things with you. The first thing is that don't look for balance. I think it's a bad approach to life to try to find balance, because you won't ever have balance in life. We have an unbalanced universe, so you cannot be in an unbalanced
Wow.
universe, right?
Wow.
And the reason I said don't find balance, just as what you said earlier, Tom, that sometimes your husband is called away at 4 a.m. when something popped off at 4 a.m. You
Hmm.
never planned for that, so that's not balance. So what you want more than balance, I think this is the most powerful thing for anybody to have. Wherever you are, be there 100%.
Hmm.
So if you're giving your wife 5 minutes of ear time to listen to her, Don't be distracted with the phone. Don't be called away. Give her that 5 minutes.
Right.
Because that means that 5 minutes you have committed to it 100%. And then when you're at work, be at work. And when you're with your family, be with your family. Don't be at work and thinking about your family. Don't be with your family and thinking about work. Don't be at the beach thinking about church. Don't be at church thinking about the beach. Wherever you are,
that part that hard. That hard. Yeah.
So just be
be there in the moment. Be present.
Be present.
Present. Yeah.
Present where you are. That's the first thing. Don't chase this thing about balance.
Right.
Chase presence. Once you become present, then you don't need balance. Right?
Wonderful.
Because life is not a balance thing. The second thing I would say to guys is, yes, I know it's ingrained in our DNA, but we should not try to solve every woman's problem. Sometimes we just need to listen. And one thing that I've been learning to ask better now is to ask the question, hey, okay, so if my wife is talking about something, I stop her and say, hon, how would you want me to deal with this? Do you want my suggestion, or do you want me to just hear you out and see if you're right or wrong? What do you think? And just let her tell me. And then once she tell me that, even if it is on my lips to give some suggestion, I just listen and nod and smile. Of course, in my situation, I always have to say, well, that was right. You were right,
Because we are.
Yes, you have to end it with that.
So that's what I would say,
I love that.
Of course, there are bigger things and deeper things, but start with the basics. Once you start with the basics, you will gradually grow into the other areas.
Awesome. Love it so much. But before we leave, we want you to tell the listeners a little bit about your business, like your business name, where they can connect with you, because as Tam and I said, we have to have a part 2 of this, but we want the listeners to also take advantage of what you have to offer. So tell them a little bit about your business, where you're situated, and how they can connect with you.
Awesome. So I can be found on pretty much all social platforms: Instagram, TikTok. I am Roel Patterson, and Facebook. I am Roel J Patterson. You could find me there. And my business, I'm a online marketer. I market products like an affiliate marketer. So I coach people how to launch their own home-based business and make it very profitable for them within 30 to 60 days, right? So that's what I do, and I've been doing that now for 9 years. I've been doing that. Built a very successful business, sold that in 2021, started something new that is just like wildfire right now. And the reason I do that, I have a background in computer science and a background in business as well, right? So that's why I came to the US to study those two things. But the reason I do home-based business, because I realize that more people than ever today wants to make more money. They just don't know how to do it. And the best way to make money is to start something that you can have a coach, a mentor, somebody to hold your hand step by step to guide you and help you to win.
Right. Wonderful.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and Roel is usually on Instagram Live with another special guest that we're going to have coming up real soon. Mindful Parenting Toolkit, who is Oliver Levy. They have Monday morning live every Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. And the topics are just wild, like very practical, very helpful, some very engaging discussions and tips just on various topics. So if you find Roel on Instagram, I am Roel Patterson. That's right, right?
Yes, correct.
I am Roel Patterson on IG, and follow him and get involved in those conversations. So thank you so much, Roel, for giving us the time today.
Thank you, Roel. This was amazing. This was great.
And
Tam
we
and
hope,
Shan, thank you so much.
yeah,
Appreciate
we
it.
hope we hope to have you back where we have to delve into a little bit about the relationship part because you
Yes.
touched some con the Royal where we need to explore.
Yes, talk
I
about
hope
it some
I
more.
hope your fans don't chastise me for it. But
No, don't come for him. Don't come for him.
all right.
Okay,
But
thank you so much.
whenever you guys are ready, I'll be more than happy to come again.
Awesome.
You guys are just amazing, and I really love your company today. Thank you
Oh,
Thank
so much.
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. So that's it for us today, fam. And remember to follow us on Instagram, Sisters Shan and Tam. Also, you can find all episodes of the podcast on our YouTube page, Shan and Tam, and on our Facebook page at Real Talk with Shan and Tam. Find the podcast on Spreaker and on Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio podcast. Thanks for joining us today, fam. Until next time, walk good, take care.
Bye, fam.
Don't forget to visit Shan and Tam on all their social media websites. At Sisters Shan and Tam on Instagram, Shan Tam Lodge-Lee on Facebook, and check out their blogs at shanandtam.blogspot.com. Tune in again next time on Real Talk.